Astrologian before Shadowbringers played radically different than what it does today, with a plethora of skills that when I bring them up makes newer players go, "What? Is that a big soft taco?" And yes, it was the biggest of big soft tacos. But more than just those skills, even the cards themselves had tremendously different effects than today. So let's talk in this video about Astrologian's old card system in Stormblood. Back in a time where Ast was known for far more than just buffing damage, although no one was to dispute how powerful spread balance was, cards did function much differently than they do today. The balance is the most familiar effect to what we know today, and it would increase the damage of a single ally by a significant amount. The bowl, however, was an extreme deviation from what we know it as today, as the bowl would reduce the damage taken by the target significantly. And I can actually speak from personal experience where I can say that this really did make a make or break situation of healing tanks that didn't know what they were doing or were severely undergeared significantly easier back in the day, like literally make or break sometimes, and it was an option I did like having. The arrow would increase attack speed of a target, so that means that it would essentially lower their GCD and cast times, which was extremely popular choice for some players. Like, I remember some black mages swore by it. Some didn't though, but some absolutely swore by it. But on the polar opposite end, back in the days where TP, the physical DPS resource equivalent to MP that, yes, thankfully has long since been removed, it would drive me crazy now that I'm on range DPS, it would cause severe problems for some players. And yes, ninjas, I still remember to avoid you years later with this card. Years later, I still remember that. The spear increased critical hit rate, which the only thing that made this actually feel balanced to even the balance itself was the fact that its duration got crushed down to 20 seconds rather than the normal 30 seconds. Which, yes, I know is much longer even than the 15 seconds today. Things have really changed. Which, talking about the spear, oddly enough, I'm going to actually admit here, I actually forgot that the duration was 20 seconds all these years later. I guess that's how much of a difference that nerf made to me spamming it. I liked the card. But here is where I'm actually going to talk about two of my favorite cards. And that is actually true for one of them, and brutally sarcastic and untrue for the other. So the Spire was a hot pile after eating a truckload of tacos, restoring TP of a target, which was useful in fringe situations like constant mass pulling AoE with a physical DPS in your party, or for royal roading, which we'll get into in a minute. But yeah, Spire. Now, the Ewer was the chef's kiss of Kaz. And I mean it. This might have been one of my favorite cards of the bunch, honestly. This card would restore MP, and it was so... I love it. I miss it. And speaking as having this skill for myself as a healer, because Ast was a healer, so it made a huge difference, or for my co-healer, this was one of the biggest utility skills I could bring. In fact, I remember cursing at the card changes at the start of Shadowbringers, because I will admit, I did myself have decent MP struggles until Ast's later MP quality of life buffs this expansion. So yeah, the MP restoration ability, or how to say it, the ability to restore MP of other players was super rare in that game and just so powerful. And yes, rest in peace, Mage's Ballad and Promotion. You are still sorely missed. But this brings us to Lord of Crowns, which was just a raw damage burst ability card, and then Lady of Crowns, which was just a raw healing burst ability card, which, you're right, mostly you'd burn these cards into minor arcana if the card was otherwise impossible to really use effectively, which these Lady and Lord of Crowns cards were honestly better than using Undraw and gaining literally no benefit. They were kind of like, okay, I have this card, it's better than throwing it out, right? Which it was. Now with the card explanations out of the way, let's speak on skills, which are going to actually be very shocking, the different interactions that the Ast used to have, especially for players that have only played it in Shadowbringers. This I have found to be the most daunting part of explaining it. So functionally, draw and play were on the same button, which was a quality of life change with Shadowbringers, that they were separate, but this was still on a 30-second cooldown just like today. There, however, was a separate action to discard a card that was unwanted using Undraw. This is different than using like Sleeve Draw to try and draw another card. It was very fringe in usage, because instead of even transforming it into minor arcana, you would literally just throw it away. And you're going to learn there are many ways to use unused cards or unwanted cards, but this was really the option if you were truly genuinely stuck and you really didn't want it. But even I used it incredibly rarely. Now, Royal Road was an extremely powerful skill that we have lost any form of right now in Shadowbringers. It would burn the current card in order to activate a special effect for the next card played. So basically, you were sacrificing a card now in order to get a powerful effect for the next card. And these effects were nothing to sneeze at. This was huge. So Bowl and Balance would give 50% more potency to the next card played. I should say certain cards would give certain very different effects. So Bowl and Balance, if you Royal Roaded them, 50% more potency to the next card, so like 10% to 15. Arrow and Spear doubled the duration of a card, so 30 seconds to 60 seconds. It was nuts. And then Ewer and the Spire would cut the potency in half of the card, so like 10% to 5%, but make the effect apply to all members. And I know that you've probably come to the exact correct conclusion, is Divination is a more direct skill form of spread balance combination, which was probably the most powerful skill combination we have seen from any particular single player in all of Final Fantasy XIV. It's extremely strong and always has been. And can I please get a 30-second duration 5% damage buff for my entire team? Yes, please. Spread is another effect that we have lost in Shadowbringers, which would essentially hold the currently drawn card in the void, where it would be kept safe for later use. It wasn't discarding it, you were holding on to it, which, seeing things like Royal Road, you know was stupidly useful. Or, how to say it, what I also often used this particular skill for, if I'm being super honest, was I would stockpile a Ewer card for later, which was the MP Restoration card, because honestly that card was one of my favorites. And you'd be right, it was a DPS loss, but when push comes to shove, if you or your co-healer is running dry on MP, it was a lifesaver, especially like if one of you died. And piety used to work very differently back in the day, but point is, if one of you died, it was such a powerful way to get someone back and healing. Redraw, I'm not going to spend much time on this. It works functionally the same as it does today. 30-second cooldown, draw a different card, but I will say that it didn't have charges back then, and so Shadowbringers brought a huge quality of life improvement for redraw. Now I'm going to talk about the two skills that are actually the most wild that I know I, myself, and many other AS players I talk to sorely miss. So first up is Time Dilation, which let you extend the duration of any buffs you put on a single target by the insane amount of 15 seconds. And it was on a reasonable, not outrageous, but reasonable 90-second cooldown, so it was accessible for sure. Think of something like putting Royal Road 150% effect on a balance card, so 10% to 15% effect for 30 seconds. Now you extend it with Time Dilation to 45 seconds. That's insane. Few things say that I love you better than that. It is far better than Roses and Chocolates for me, at least. 15% more damage or crit for that long was just so hot. Now for the second ability that I find wild, and I miss this dearly too. Celestial Opposition would extend buffs on all allies by 10 seconds, and yes, this would include like the heal over time effect if you were like in Aspected Benefic or Aspected Helios. It was super good. And this does stack with Time Dilation. So spread balance, you'd pop Celestial Opposition. It was very powerful, and this stacking with Time Dilation means that if you really want to show love for your girlfriend or your boyfriend, then plop 150% balance on them, 30 seconds of duration, Time Dilation it to 45 seconds duration, Celestial Opposition it to 55 seconds duration of 15% more damage. Honestly, you can keep the stupid chocolates. Give me this. Isn't that terrible to say, but that's me. Let's talk about our second last skill. Minor Arcana worked in the way that it would take a card and convert it into either Lord or Lady of Crowns. It was not mind-blowing, it wasn't, but given the combos that we just spoke about, you've already noticed we'd sometimes have dead cards. And this gave us a method to use them, so it was extremely useful back in the day. You'd get something from it. Finally, Stormblood gave us the insanely powerful sleeve draw ability, which, with a completely empty spread, no Royal Road, no Minor Arcana, no card drawn, this ability would instantly pop all of those and give you all of that. Basically, you could exhaust all of your gas on Ast, and this would pick you right back up every 2 minutes, which was insanely fun chaos. Anyhow, that does it for this video, and that's how Ast used to play back in the day. And that's not to say that we haven't seen huge quality of life improvements, because we totally have, but that's all for this video and recapping the history. Anyhow, take care everyone, and I hope to catch you in the next one.